Top of the morning, Mitch.
How many potatoes you found this morning?
Everyone says top of the morning to me as if it's
Grand.
something
When you speak to your Irish friends on the phone, you go more Irish. So that's grand.
You know, it's that.
Yeah.
That's because you guys can't understand me.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Why did we start the podcast, Mitch? By the way,
cheers. Good to be here on a Saturday morning. There you go. Ching chin. Some mimosas.
the Broker Brunch.
The Broker Brunch.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers,
for
guys.
doing
Thanks
this,
for coming in. So why did we start this podcast? Because we want to have a few drinks and mimosas with our friends. Get to know each other a bit better. Have some fun.
I just wanted to hang out with you on Saturdays.
That's it. So that's what we want to do. We're going to invite some guests on, talk a bit about real estate, get to know each other, reveal some funny stories.
I think one of the main things why we did it is because there's so many podcasts out there.
Yeah.
And it's all from people who are established or people who've made it. But we haven't made it.
No, we want to be real and give our experience so far and tell them what it's like to be a young, hungry broker in New York trying to make it, quote unquote.
So what is that like?
What is that like? It's tough, but it's rewarding and it's fun. We have a lot of fun with our friends, try and build a business. It's good. It's good fun.
I remember when I first met you, Mitch.
Yeah, how was that? Do you remember when you gave me a 30-minute cold call?
I was like, I'm going to show this kid how it's done.
I appreciate that. I remember it very well.
What do you remember?
I just remember being in the room, you getting off the board, whatever you learned from Marcus, like open questions, all that sort of thing. And there it was, off to the races. We've got my phone, got my desk, ready to go.
No, I remember even when you were like interviewing.
Oh, yes. You came in the interview room, didn't you? You've been here a week.
I'd been here a week, so I was a veteran.
Yeah.
And Paul...
it was Hef at the time.
It was Paul and Hef, right? So Hef was doing the hiring.
It was just Hef.
It was just Hef, all right. So Hef, maybe, for some reason I always remember it was Paul, but anyway, whoever it was, I was sitting at my desk, like you said, I was here about a week, and they said, Brian, you're from Ireland, right?
This guy's from England, match him up.
I was like, there's an English guy in there, do you want to go say hi to him?
Yeah,
so I said, sure, I'll go and say hi. So I went in and...
Do you remember what we just spoke about? Maybe we were comparing different shops and different pros and cons of each, maybe, I can't remember.
Oh, it wasn't even that, because I just went in to say hi.
Oh, yeah.
You were in the middle of an interview.
Yeah.
They must have panicked.
Yeah,
and,
maybe.
And said, bring in someone from Europe. So I went in to say hi, and you were just so hungry.
Yeah.
That's one thing I remember about you. You were like...
Yeah, I was ready to go.
What's this? And how do I do this? And is it good here? And how much money will I make? And, I think I don't even know if I sat down. I just stood in the hallway.
Yeah, I remember well.
And, but I just remember that, because you were fired up.
Yeah.
But so you did that. You were obviously here because you knew about Paul or Masinackle or one of those things.
Yeah, exactly.
You wanted to get into commercial real estate.
Yeah.
You came from London.
Yeah.
But you were just fired up. Yeah, it was. Yeah. You know, it was like you already knew what was ahead of you. It's hard to explain to people at home or from Ireland or England, you know, what New York is like.
Yeah.
You seem to have
unique.
You seem to have a good grasp of it before you even.
Yeah, well, I had a friend of mine when I'm in London. He moved to New York for a while, and he was telling me how amazing it was. He came back to England after a few years, but I'm always fascinated by America, even growing up. I think all these. You look at the top 10 wealthiest people in the world. Like the 9 out of 10 are American. And at that time when we were growing up, like Facebook, Uber, Amazon were taking over the world. All these tech companies. Like, I was thinking, what are they having for breakfast over there? You know, what ingredient they're having to be successful? I was very intrigued naturally by it, and I thought it was the amazing land of opportunity. I still do. So that's what sort of subconsciously brought me over here. And I remember growing up in England as well, watching the Jonathan Ross show, some chat show, and you'd have these American Hollywood stars come on, and it'd be just like, wow, like I don't know, these guys are amazing. I remember it well.
So you were watching New York in America on TV, right?
Yeah. And I remember to jump in. I remember recently as well. Corey just sent an email around last week about Eric Thomas. Do you see that YouTube?
No.
Motivational speaker.
Oh yeah.
So I vividly remember sitting in my room watching Eric Thomas, thinking, wow, it's amazing. Like this is. I don't know if you've ever watched them when you were in Ireland as well, like these like YouTube guys on, you know, motivational speakers.
Yeah, I mean, that's what New York is, isn't it?
It's
opportunity.
Yeah. And people from all over the world come here. You know, some people make it, some people don't make it, quote unquote. But I was also, in terms of the real estate, I was watching the Bronx market from London. At the time, I was watching the Stoller Report a lot. He was talking about the Bronx a lot. I was like intrigued. And then Brookfield bought there, and like they're a big player, so they're sort of placemaking a market. And I thought the value of the bricks were really cheap.
But that's unusual, right?
It was unusual.
Why would a kid in like outside London be looking at the Bronx market? Like, what's that about?
I know. Well, initially came around that Michael Stoller was talking about it.
But who, like Michael Stoller? Like, how would you know Michael Stoller?
I just googled New York City commercial real estate, and then the YouTube. Then he came up on YouTube, and then you see all these guys like David Sheckman, Aaron Youngrice, Bob Knackle.
So you got the bug.
Yeah, and I thought these guys are really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I would like want to be like them. You know, and they just like feel like they seem like they got it all figured out. And obviously,
what were you doing? What were you doing at the time when you were looking?
I was working in real estate in London.
So you were in real estate.
Yeah. For a brief period of time.
You were doing more institutional stuff, right?
Yeah.
But it's different back there as well, right? It's
it's more formalized corporate, and I like the fact that B6 was a new company. You know, it's opportunity. I wanted to be in the Bronx market. It was the first one to go work in that market. It was a very challenging start, though. I have to admit. Looking back, it gives me nightmares.
Why?
Because the first thing we do, as you know, is you got to go and understand the market and walk the blocks. And it was a January, February time 4 years ago, and I vividly remember it raining. This is how hungry I was at the time. Not that I lost any hunger. I was walking around in the rain, and I remember calling Hef. I was like, "Hef, is there anything else to do?" And he thought I was crazy. I was literally walking around in the rain with my jacket, just like walking the blocks, understanding the market. So yeah, it's a good way to learn the market, and I never forget that. It's almost like the war scars you got, the emotional scars you got to prove you've earned your stripes almost.
And you didn't know any better as well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's a good thing, to become naive as well.
Yeah.
I think it's good to be naive. Being naive is a beautiful thing when you're getting started, because if you knew how hard it was going to be, maybe you wouldn't do it.
I don't think you would, right?
Particularly the first 12 months coming here fresh, as you know, like you knew nothing, no one, how you're going to survive financially.
But you need that enthusiasm to carry you through.
Exactly. And I remember I came with some savings, but I spent it on my year rent up front because I had no credit or income. So the landlord wouldn't accept me. So I just gave him the year's rent up front, and then I had nothing left. And luckily, I reached out to our good friend and boss, Paul Massey, and he gave me some draw, just $1,000 a month, just to survive, pretty much.
Which is probably unusual as well, right? Like for Marcus, we had to bring a laptop and a phone. Yeah. And I love Marcus, don't get me wrong. I mean, they trained us, like, I think it was the right place to start. But you got like a little bit of a security blanket over here.
And in hindsight, actually, I would have started on the team initially, just to learn the basics.
Yeah.
It was too many hard lessons learned that unnecessarily.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Like, everyone learns differently, and
it's very hard to tell a kid that, though, when they're so fired up to go make it on their own.
Exactly. Exactly.
Half the reason why you got into it was because you wanted to be your own man, right?
Yeah.
So then how do you go join...
Be your own boss, quote unquote. But it's funny when people say that now, because you're not your own boss. You got your wife to answer to, you got the tax, you got the IRS to answer to, You got
in that order.
Yeah, you got your clients to answer to, You got the B6 people with management to answer to. So you're not your own boss. There's always somebody telling what to do. And that's okay. You just accept that and learn and work with the people.
Yeah.
So yeah. And also in my head, in terms of the Bronx, going back to the Bronx market, I thought... New York and London, both global comparable cities, both been around long. London's been around a longer time than New York, so there's nowhere in London you can get into the equivalent of Midtown Manhattan for the value of the bricks. So I thought it was inevitable that market would evolve and grow and mature. Obviously, there's challenges with that market as well, particularly like the laws. It's a very heavily stabilized market, but I just saw opportunity personally. And yeah.
What were some of the biggest differences between London and New York that you would have seen?
That's a good question. There's a lot more entrepreneurial here, naturally, because there's no salary.
Right.
So you're going to have to get up your backside and go, because otherwise you're literally not going to eat.
Whereas in London, it was like real estate there strikes me more like banking.
Exactly, because the way it's structured, my short experience there was you get a salary plus a discretionary bonus. Discretionary bonus up to your boss. If your boss doesn't like you, then he's going to absolutely...
Right.
He could fuck you. And that did happen to me.
Right.
And that stuck with me. So I wanted something, it's clean, we have a clean structure, no debates about what's going on. is what it is. If you don't come crying, I used to say to myself, don't go crying to anyone if you haven't made any money, because no one gives a crap.
And it's so true, because nobody cares.
No one cares.
Because you either did it or you didn't do it.
And we have had good support here, and the people do care internally, but just generally, like, no one's going to care. Like, there's so many kids trying to make it. Look, there'll be another guy. You're replaceable very quickly.
Right. Either do it or don't.
And you'd actually see this in the biz, you know, that a lot of people come and go. So yeah, you've got to be self-motivated for sure. That is the obvious one. Otherwise, no one's gonna. I think you said to me actually, no one's gonna come check it if you've been at your desk 9 to 5. No, no one's checking up on you.
Yeah.
So yeah,
they'll come checking up on you if you didn't originate it.
Yeah, exactly, for a certain period of time.
And then they'll back in like, were you here between 9 and 5? And that's that. So it's like
yeah.
But you shouldn't have. I think the point is you shouldn't have to feel like anyone needs you here or is looking for you, because if you're chasing or if you're trying to like avoid someone, then like what are you even doing it for? Like,
exactly.
You know, you might as well, like, there's easier ways to go make a few quid. Than coming in,
because it is hard business
and grinding it out here.
Yeah, it is hard business, and it's competitive business, and there's a lot of brokers chasing a few deals. So yeah, you should probably want it really badly. And luckily, we both have a passion for the business, so it doesn't feel like work. It's fun. There are days that are challenging, but that's okay. You learn and you grow from it, and you just keep pushing forward.
I just think that if it gets tough here, and it does, it's still not bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's...
Well, you joke every day about America. We joke about America. The people come in, check the bank accounts, go to the gym.
Log in,
There's a lot of wealth and equity in America, and there's a lot of opportunity, obviously. People live comfortably.
Yeah. So but you need money to live.
Well, you knew it was very expensive cities to live in.
Not to live well, just to
survive. Yeah, you do.
Right.
Yeah.
That's one thing that shocks me is like how much cash it takes to like keep the ship afloat here every month.
Yeah. Well, as a broker, you know as well, no salaries. You got to have a certain amount of money in the bank just to survive. Like, you don't want to go, particularly if you got kids, you don't want to go below 6 months at least. Really, you want to have that in the bank as a cushion, because what are you going to do?
I need 6 months of credit card debt at all times, ready to go.
Yeah. So you never know.
You never know. Like, never mind cash.
Particularly in a down market, you don't know how long it's going to take to get the next deal. Yeah. Like, fortunately, we get into a position now with better deal flow. But still, as we know, it's so challenging to get these deals done. It always comes back to motivation, doesn't it? You speak about this a lot.
Yeah, gauge and seller motivation.
Yeah. Like, asking the right questions.
And who cares what the price is at the end of the day? If the guy is going to sell, he's going to sell. If he's not, he's not. So
yeah,
you don't want to be like, I think I get a lot of my listens right now, some people say like, what are you doing? This is so overpriced. But at the end of the day, you go out, right? You show the seller where the market is.
Yeah.
Right. You have a frank conversation about it. It's not my decision or their decision or anyone else's. I mean, the market's going to pay what it's going to pay.
Exactly.
But if they tell you, listen, we want the market made, we want to get out of it. You're our guy.
Yeah.
Like, swing for the fences, do your best.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we're going to meet it.
Yeah.
I'll take that all day.
Yeah, 100%. And we are so granular in our markets, we know so well, we're confident with the pricing.
You probably know who you're going to sell it to.
Yeah, probably.
So
where are you seeing seller motivation? Like, you think they're becoming more motivated and they're more realistic in terms of pricing? Do you think there's a smaller bid-ask spread?
Wow, you're really coming real estate at me here.
Sorry, going to real estate.
You love real estate so much.
I'm getting
this is the B6.
No, I'm just curious. We're on the topic of motivation.
I think people I'm selling for now, got a couple of bigger groups who are, it just happens to be the right time for them to sell because the asset doesn't work for their needs anymore.
Yeah.
So that could be one thing. But a lot of it is just, what we always say, debt, disease, divorce. It's lifestyle decisions.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily economic. They don't need to sell because the figures make sense. They need to sell because they want to go and do something else. They don't want to deal with the building anymore.
Yeah.
They don't want to have tenants calling them.
Yeah.
And trying to figure stuff out. They're sick of rent regulations. I suppose that's when you talk about it, that's what it is. Just like fatigue. Like,
deal fatigue.
These people are just sick and tired of being sick and tired.
And something Paul always says is that why would you sell, pay all the broker fees, all your closing costs, if you can read 65 cents of the dollar? Like, why? And as you mentioned, it's fatigue is a big factor.
But why would you? I mean, So you own a building, right?
Historically, it goes up in value over time. So
it's
why not
gone up.
keep it?
You know it's going to be worth more in 5 years or 10 years
Yeah.
or whatever it is. And even if it's tough now, it's, whatever. Things will change, usually. And it has, historically. You look at it, you bought it in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, whenever you bought it.
Yeah.
It's worth more today.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see where that trend continues over the next 10, 20, 30 years with all the challenges in New York that has done historically.
Right.
Time will tell, I suppose. But there's still a young guys bullish on the market here. And I'm bullish on the market, generally, even despite the challenges. I think it's always going to be. I think it's going to be still so strong for the foreseeable future.
And for us young guys, I mean, it has to be, right? We have to believe it.
Yeah, we have to believe in it. Yeah.
I mean,
sometimes we're drinking our own Kool-Aid.
How old are
too
you?
Much. 30.
And I'm 34. So, you have to for the next, 40 years, you could be trying to sling it together here in New York City. So, if you look at where it was 40 years ago, where the Bronx was burning, or
it's amazing.
These,
I love it. Well, I don't love hearing them stories actually because there's a lot of hardship.
But you probably love hearing the opportunity. If you had the stones to step up, take on the building.
Well, I was with one of your clients, the Irish guys in the Bronx, not long ago, and that was a typical example of that. Not a genius, very nice guy. He's very smart actually, but over experience he learned. But he just had the balls.
It's okay. He's not going to be listening. You can tell him he's not a genius.
He just had the balls to go for it, where a lot of people didn't.
Right.
And you got to have guts, and you got to stick to your guns.
Right.
And just be committed, like we both have. Be committed and stick with it, and have a vision for what you want.
Yeah.
And just stick with it no matter what.
It's so true.
So enough about real estate. Let's talk about who's Brian Whelan. Tell me about you.
Whoa.
How are you feeling? Tell me about Ireland.
Feeling good. Ireland is good, and
so what age when you moved here again?
So I moved here in 2010.
Okay.
So I moved here when I was 22. So
22. I was 26, I think. Yeah.
So you were a little bit older.
Yeah. 4 years after. Yeah.
When I left, it was tough at home because I had you graduate, you finish school, you finish up college.
Yeah.
And it was 2009, and they were like, "Oh, sorry, kid.
I heard
Celtic Tigers over."
I heard on the street you worked at McDonald's. You had now you're selling McDonald's on Broadway in Manhattan, Isle of Manhattan. That's 2 miles by 7 miles, I think. So that is the American dream. You are the American dream.
That is the American dream. Yeah, no, but it was 2009, so it really was. Like, if you weren't going for jobs, flipping burgers or selling, I interviewed for one job, and it was selling garbage subscriptions.
So in Ireland, sorry.
In Ireland, yeah.
Okay.
This is all right after. We didn't call it garbage; we call it the bin.
So we call it the bin in England.
For our American friends. But I was selling. I was interviewed for that, and I mean, you couldn't even get a job doing that. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So I was of the opinion anyway. It's like I was 20.
Yeah.
Finished up college, and
What did you study? What did you study at college?
Business, which we call commerce.
Okay. And was that relevant to real estate?
I mean, it wasn't irrelevant. It was still like entrepreneurship, marketing, finance.
I would say to a young guy, if they want to become a broker, I think you should study psychology. That's probably the best. That's the best one. It's all psychology.
I agree. You probably need a major in psychology and a minor in business.
Yeah. So sorry, tell us more about. So you moved to you're trying to figure out life in Ireland. You moved to. How was it when you got to America? 21 years old.
Yeah, so my uncle is in Oregon. He's building houses.
Okay.
He's from Wicklow. My dad's little brother. And he probably was like, listen, someone looked after me back in the 80s or whenever he came here. So he was thinking he'd pay it forward. So, my Uncle Mike, I went over, the usual story, bag on your back, not to lose.
Yeah.
Laboured for him for a few months.
Love it.
It's, I've had a lot of jobs, since I was a kid and even since then, and I've only been fired from one. And it was this one with my uncle.
Your uncle fired you? Why did he fire you?
I mean, you'd have to ask him. Maybe we should have him on the podcast.
Yeah, get him over from Oregon.
I'd say if you were asking him, he would say, listen, this kid, he doesn't know what he wants to do. He's all over the place. So
you're 21 then, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my Uncle Mike was busy. He was a hard guy. You know, he was like building houses by himself. Like does everything, soup to nuts. And then there was me who just came over like soft hands.
Oh.
You know, right out of.
How are your hands now?
Right, man, they're a bit tougher now. But yeah, so.
That sounds like great learning, grounding.
But yeah, like cold. It was like it was January in the West Coast. Snow on the ground, like timber framing, like real raw stuff. You know, working with your uncle and
that's
you know,
great.
Getting up together, eating porridge.
And his life's still good to him there. He's got some buildings.
Yeah, he's doing good out there, and I think it was a good learning curve for me, and you know, and what it is to work hard, and you know, like. Even though you have a business degree, like the world owes you nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's a good attitude to have.
And he used to pay me, you know, whatever he paid me. Like he paid me well for what I did. I thought it was amazing, you know. And I've like, at the end of the week, you get like $700 in your back pocket. It was like it was good stuff. And then go out on the weekends and blow it all, and had fun. And but anyway, that was too much hard work for me. So. Eventually, I went to Australia. My buddies were over there, so I went to Melbourne, Australia.
More the backpack chilling, surfer vibe type.
Yeah, got a job in a bar, you know, like work hard, play hard, you know, live in the bar, work in the bar.
Where was in Australia?
Melbourne.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Burke Street. So shout out to Watchy and Hanlon.
They'll be listening. They'll be listening from Australia.
I'm sure they're tuning in.
Live from Times Square.
Live. Well, they're back in Ireland now. None of us met it in Australia. So. But when I was over there, I got an email from Tony Whelan, who actually turned out to be my future father-in-law. But I met Tony. Tony and Margaret are like family friends of ours back in Ireland.
It's ironic, the last name, same last name.
I know.
You must get that a lot.
Only in Ireland.
Yeah.
But so I knew them well, and Tony had done very well out here with he's in the environmental construction business, and he had mentioned to me, because I stopped on the way over to my Uncle Mike. He had mentioned to me if I ever want to come here, that he would do his best to help me out and to make sure to stay in touch. So I got an email one weekend over in Australia from Tony, and he was like, "Listen, I have a job here. If you want to be my assistant, basically, and come over, I'll do everything I can to get you set up, make it work." So I went over. I saw the email, showed it to my buddy, and he was like, "You just go, man." This Australia dream's only going to have a certain amount of months left to it. You know, we all knew it was like we had to grow
just
up
a bit fun,
yeah. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. So, long story short, showed up in New York City, famously at JFK Airport in December or November, whenever it was, with no jacket. So I just had a hoodie and made my way out to Pearl River, which is where Aisling, my wife, which is where she lived. At the time, we were friends. So went out there, made my way there somehow to Pearl River. And I don't want to say the rest is history, but you know, I made my way. Tony took me on, thankfully, and Margaret, and literally lived with them for the first month. Then I got a place in Weehawken. You know, everyone told me I'm moving to New York City. I didn't realize I wouldn't be able to afford to live there. So I lived in an attic.
Not quite the New York City you were thinking.
I lived in an attic in Weehawken.
Not as glamorous. A bit like our business, not very glamorous, actually.
Not very glamorous, but you know, looking back on it, it's kind of like those little experiences that make you appreciate
100%.
everything or the little success you have today.
You just reminded me, actually, when the classic someone on vacation or immigrating here, when they come to JFK, like, oh, how do we get to Manhattan? I remember when I was there once, and there's this he was holding an Uber like iPad. So he wasn't. Have you seen him at the JFK?
I know that. Yeah.
So he wasn't actually Uber, but he had just had a iPad saying Uber. Oh, okay, I'll go this guy. Anyway, I think he way overcharged me, and I just remember that experience. I don't know why, it just reminded me of it. But just like a classic thing. It's a classic little mistakes you make when you first move to a different country, trying to figure it out. Yeah. And you don't let them forget them little things.
You have no idea.
No, you don't. And I used to think, England, America similar, but it's actually kind of very different as well. It's hard to explain, but a lot of different cultural differences. And
you learn them every day, the nuances.
And it took me a long time, like a really long time. Well, I still am, obviously. I've only been here 4 years, but I know, it took like 2 years just to even feel a bit more comfortable, really.
And it's in your everyday stuff that you notice that, like, we don't say that, or they don't say that. Like, you know, we're selling that McDonald's now, and like everyone, like I said it in the sales meeting, no, it's McDonald's on 159th Street. And I was like, what? Why would you say McDonald's? It's McDonald's. My response is McDonald's. I think I know how to say that more than anyone. I'm the Irish guy. You know?
Yeah.
But it's a cultural learning experience. Every day.
But it's great. I love it.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you know, once you get set up over here, then I feel like
the world's not the world. America is your oyster then.
But you begin to understand America and New York. I mean, understanding New York. Never mind real estate. I mean, getting your head around what makes New York is half the battle. Like, who are the like, New York is a very like, when you boil it down, it is very local as well.
It's very insular in terms of like what they say, like the 5 families or something. In terms of the real estate business historically, right? It's been passed down through generations. So like
it really is. Like, you have to know a lot of people, and obviously, you know, there's thousands of buildings out there, and even more owners, but. It's when you boil it down, it's probably like the same, like maybe 50 people that you know that you horse trade with. And you know, there's always the end user or the guy who's from outside the city or whatever. But the meat and potatoes of your market is the same guys. And
so let me ask you a question: how do you get to know these guys? What do you say?
I mean, similar to you, the phone has been how I've built. You know,
I think everything starts with the phone.
The phone, right? It's like that phone call and close for the meeting. I think, you know, one thing at this shop is the meeting doesn't seem to be as big. But I remember at my last shop, it was all about calls, meetings, and we call them proposals. But you know, that's BOVs. So really, a week was boiled down to how many calls you made, how many.
That's valuation for any of the listeners that don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, valuation. If there's any listeners out there, hello, how are you?
Any real estate sellers, give us a call. Flaherty B6 Real Estate. 917-348-0242.
You got it in. You got your number in before mine.
It's muscle memory. I just say it without thinking.
Love it. Yeah.
Sorry, you're saying.
But yeah, I think you have to look in the whites of their eyes, don't you?
Yeah.
Like if you're really trying to get past that initial phase with someone where they actually trust you.
Well, there's a lot of immigrants here as well, and like I know it's when you're both not from this country, you can connect with them on a different way. Like you have something common, right, which helps. And particularly in our markets, there's kind of like immigrant owners, I'd say.
Yeah.
And you just got to find anything in common. For relationship building, that's what we do. Someone asked me the other day, actually, what we do. I said we build relationships. I think that is the essence for everything we do, right? It's all. It could be selling real estate. It could be selling liquor, scissors, whatever.
That's true.
Building relationships.
Same fundamentals.
Yeah, exactly.
Does the person know, like you, and trust you?
Yeah.
Like how do you get that to happen?
So how much do you love real estate out of 10? Do you think you need to love real estate in this business to be successful?
I do, but I think more importantly, you need to love people.
Yeah,
I mean, not to be sappy or cringy, but you know,
I'm gonna start crying in a minute.
You know, Kaz over there, there's tears rolling down his face here as we're talking. No, but when I say you need to love people, I mean you need to really like be able to get into the trenches with someone.
Yeah.
You know, and it's painful sometimes. I mean, even. You know, you're in the same boat as me, like trying to grow a team and manage people, and it's like once you're dependent on other people as well, then you have to improve your communication. And especially with sellers, like the way I used to do it at the start was like tell the seller when you have the winning offer. You know, I didn't realize like you have to bring them on the journey with you.
Yeah.
You know,
and it is a journey. Every transaction is a journey, right?
Right, because they don't know what's a good deal or a bad deal unless they've seen it with you.
Particularly if they're like a mum and pop owner and they're not in the real estate business, you really just got to educate them as much as possible.
Yeah.
And that takes time and hand holding, but that's what we love doing really as well. It's rewarding as well at the same time.
One of your things is, you know, find something that happened in the neighborhood, call the person, send them a comp.
Yeah.
You know, I love that.
I think that's great.
Because that's.
Well, what you're doing is you're creating.
It's not salesy, you know.
Yeah. And you're like.
I'm running out of mimosas.
If you add value, people are going to want you. And I think the way you add value is by knowing the market and educating them.
So like you talk about going out to the Bronx at the start, and it's raining, and you're walking block by block, and like
taking pictures of buildings. Yeah.
So what was that like?
What was that like? Oh, I questioned a few life decisions at that point, to be honest with you. No. It was pretty. Just trying to figure it out, but I was taking it like very seriously. You know me, like
Right.
Head serious. Down. Yeah, head down. Like, where is the opportunity? Trying to identify which buildings like dilapidated, which area had rezoned. One story actually is I actually met an owner while I was doing that. I was literally walking block by block down 138th Street. I walked into a retail store, randomly giving out a business card. Probably not that strategic, wasting a lot of time. And the owner was, I offered to give my business card to the lady behind the till, saying, "Can you pass this to the owner? If he wants, I can give him a valuation, tell him what his building's worth." And he was stood next to me. The owner was stood next to me. He was like, "I'm the owner." I was like, "Hi, I'm Mitch. Nice to meet you." Some people got confused up there with the English accent, like, who am I and what am I doing here? Right. Some guys actually thought I was a cop, which is kind of funny. But anyway, I got in this guy's car. Like, I remember telling Jermaine this story. He's like, "Are you sure you're okay? You shouldn't be doing this." I just got in his car, we had a chat, and I still speak in touch with him today. So, just being out there, kicking the bricks, trying to meet the local owners, and just trying to figure out, add value, and understand where the market of that area is going, and how you can connect the dots with owners and buyers and developers and what they want. I think that's key.
I think one thing you did really effectively was during COVID. You used it as a big opportunity to grab market share.
Well, yeah, I was going up to the Bronx during COVID.
We'll talk about our heroes in a few minutes. Maybe it was Knackle or someone who said it. It's like, the only bad call you make is the call you don't make.
Yeah, I do remember that one.
And it's so true, because it's like, if you don't have the relationship or they don't know you, then after you make that phone call and you blow it, you're in the exact same position anyway.
Yeah.
But at least you're giving yourself a chance to
give
actually make something happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
you got nothing to lose.
You got nothing to lose. You got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Like, literally everything. I
remember some things that Paul says stick in my mind. In the sales meeting once, he said, "There's no excuse not to give everything 100%," and that just sort of sticks with me.
Yeah.
It's true. What's going to happen?
It's those little sound bites from Paul.
Yeah.
Paul is obviously, Paul's a legend. I think, similar to you, why I signed up was because of Paul.
Yeah.
And then when you get in and you see that he really is, a demand that's
fits the description.
Says he is, right? That's what keeps you around.
Yeah, 100%.
And those guys, they've done it. They've seen it. They know what it is. And
along with some other senior brokers here in the management, great top of class people and very good at what they do.
Used to be always like that, though. I mean,
sorry?
It used to be always like that. Remember when you started? I mean, what was the training program like, Mitch?
What was the training program like? You gave me my training, so you could be the judge.
We did it over Sweetgreen, right? I told you how to call someone.
Something like that.
Yeah. I do think Corey coming on, though, has...
big
effect. We've put that... There's layers now.
Yeah, it's more structured.
There's structure.
Yeah.
And you can actually come in here now, and, you're given a territory, and I think you're given the tools.
Yeah.
Whereas, at the start, the same way any startup would be, you're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm actually kind of glad it happened that way, because the more challenging this is getting a bit cringy, but the more challenging times you had, the stronger you're going to be mentally. And I feel very strong mentally, and I'm sure you feel the same as well, because you've been through a lot of shit. So it mentally strengthens you, which becomes an asset.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you think nothing of making a cold call. It just is what it is.
Yeah. Stuff does get easier as well.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And failure is kind of, it's not so much like a death sentence.
Yeah.
You're just like, all right, I may mess that one up.
Yeah, exactly.
May have lost that one, but ultimately I'm here long term.
And tell me how you got into this business, the commercial real estate business. Didn't you read an article about Bob Knackle or something like that?
Yeah, it was even similar to you. It was probably just reading this stuff, and there must be something about real estate, because it's like the Wild West. And if you don't come from money or you don't come from connections, there's something about real estate that it just seems like attainable, that you could break in, make a big splash, and be successful. And it's, I'm Sean Riney. It's embarrassing to even say, but I was reading about Sean Riney at the time. I was like, who is this guy?
Young guy.
He was it was 2012, 2013. and there was like a big write-up. I used to buy like Real Estate Weekly or The Real Deal or whatever, and read it at lunchtime when I was working, and like Sean Riney, I remember just reading about him, like he's only a couple of years older than me. Like, look what he's doing. I mean, it's amazing.
And that's the great thing about this business. There's no right or wrong. There's no one box you need to be in. You can be yourself, and you'll do well. You'll do well. You don't need to be a certain type of person.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like you need to have certain core skills, but there's a million ways to make $1 million.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah.
There really is, and when you see other people doing it, like we're not
reinventing the wheel.
We're not reinventing the wheel here. No. We're not like curing any major diseases. We're just finding buyers for sellers and trying to like put deals together. But it's doable, and I think all you need is a little bit of drive, a lot of common sense.
Yeah.
And
thick skin, particularly the start.
Thick skin, and you need to want it.
Yeah.
And you put all those things together, and like I mentioned, like Sean Riney or Bob Nackle, like these guys are, they're my heroes.
Yeah.
And it's like the cool thing about this business is like you get to meet them.
Yeah. It's very open and accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Riney will email me about some of my deals, and like I have a parking garage in Brooklyn. He's like, cool deal. But it's like you kind of do get to kind of brush shoulders with some of the people that are inspiring. I don't think that's true of a lot of businesses.
No, I agree. So where are you going to be in 5 years? Tell me about the Brian future and Brian Whelan in 5 years. Tell me about your kids actually first. Sorry, so you got 2 young kids.
Yeah, I got JJ and Willow.
How are they doing?
JJ's 3, Willow's
JJ's
1.
always sick, isn't he?
Always sick, but he's coming out the other end. Yeah, no, they're great. I mean,
third one on the way. Close to. I'm trying to close my wife. That's a tough one to do.
Yeah.
She's not quite there yet, unfortunately. But
so
soon.
You get a few more deals.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even say get a few more listens. I'd say get a few more hard contracts.
Well, what did you tell me you were giving up for Lent?
I'm giving up 4 cap deals for that.
Prices.
Jake Croman, one of our friends and clients, I was speaking to him on Ash Wednesday, and he wished me, it's nice to do. He wished me all the best for Lent, knowing that I'm from Ireland and probably an Irish Catholic. But he said, you know what you should give up, Brian? And I said, what's that, Jake? He said, 4 cap deals.
That's great.
Like, thanks, Jake.
Yeah, that's great.
But
so family are well, and you're living in New Jersey, right?
Family's well. We're living in New Jersey. Moved out there during COVID. So while you were, making deals during COVID and learning the Bronx, I was trying to like find a house to live in for the family. And I do think that's one thing. If you have the opportunity to dive into the business before there's all this responsibility, so like before there's, big bills or mortgages or kids, like. You really made good use of your time during 2020 and 2021. I think it's going to serve you very well for.
But you've also had a lot of success recently with some great clients like Apple Bank. Like, what changed for you? I'm curious.
Just to head down. So when I joined, so to go back a little bit, so I did, like I said, I came over here, had some connections to help me out to get going, get a job. But then, ultimately realized I wanted to be my own boss or get into business for myself.
You're not your own boss.
I'm not my own boss, but you're a few years into it before you realize that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But you look around and you see, there's buildings here and all you need is a 75-hour course to go sell them. So,
I love you always joking about that. Yeah. So it is a low barrier to entry in our business.
Very low barrier to entry. So it's like, why wouldn't it be me?
Yeah,
right? Like if these other guys can do it, why couldn't I do it?
And you need that self-confidence as well. That's another thing you need, actually. You need to believe in yourself.
Bit of
if
belief.
you don't believe in yourself, no one else can believe in you.
Right, that's true. Yeah, so thankfully I joined with Marcus and Millichap. JD Parker was running the New York office at the time. He may still or not still be, I'm not sure. But going over there, it was like the Wolf of Wall Street, because you go in, everyone's wearing suits. It's Madison Avenue. Yeah. There's cool offices, and literally when you go in, JD interviews you. He's a cool guy, very charismatic, and he tells you, looks like you've got skills, like like we're willing to like give you a shot.
We love you, Cressy.
But I think what I was saying about JD Parker over Marcus was, they bring you in, it's a glitzy, cool office, they train you well, and you really kind of get put onto the, like I was saying, like this is like, New York City commercial real estate brokerage. This is what I signed up for.
Yeah.
You know, you can't do. It's competitive.
Yeah.
You know, you're competing against everyone
Like
around.
Wolf of Wall Street, right?
Like Wolf of Wall Street.
We have our little corner in the office. We call it the High Performance Unit, the Investor Center. Sorry,
the Investor Center. You know, and it's welcome to the Investor Center for every client we signed up. But yeah, I think the reason I brought that up was just because when I was with Marcus, I went on a 2-year hunt for hotels to sell.
Yeah, how was that?
In the Northeast.
Sell many hotels?
I got a couple of deals done, but it was really hard, I'm not going to lie. I mean, you know, I obviously left it after 2 years, so you can come up with all the reasons you want of why you moved on, but ultimately what I wanted was New York City.
Yeah. And why Upper Manhattan?
I felt, and I still feel, Upper Manhattan is, you're still on the dance floor, but it's got upside.
You like to kiss the ladies on the dance floor still.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, you have a real shot at riding the wave up.
Yeah. Inwood's had a rezoning recently. It's it's obviously in the amount.
Yeah, and it's just great neighborhoods, good communities, like great transport, lots of parks. I love it, you know. I picked Upper Manhattan because you had to pick somewhere, right? You have to take a territory. Didn't want to be competing with what I felt was, you know, just the establishment there for 50, 60 years. You have to be real. I mean, you have to be confident, but I think you have to be real. And how are you going to make money and feed your family in the first 2 years?
Exactly, yeah.
And for me, and probably similar to you, that's
exactly.
You know, you have to go a little bit outside the main action, but you want to have enough that you're going to grow into be a real player.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's how I picked up in Manhattan.
You pouring me a glass as well?
Yeah. You enjoying it?
Yeah,
what are we drinking it? So Crexy sent us over a little bottle of champers for our first podcast.
Yeah, it's nice. Thank you, Crexy.
Everyone over there, appreciate it.
Yeah.
So you came over, you're in the West Coast, you're with your buddy. How did you end up bumping into Maciel?
Just at a bar.
The usual.
Just a regular story. Most people nowadays, they meet on our age group, they meet on a Hinge or whatever. But no, I actually met someone in real life in person, which is amazing.
What was your opening line to her?
What was my opening line? I can't remember.
Here you go, my friend.
I can't remember my
drink up. Oh, sorry, I'll pour for you.
I can't remember my opening line, actually.
Do you think she would?
Yeah, she would probably. I'll have to ask her. I'll have to bring it up in the next podcast.
But you ended up anyway. You hit it off with her. Things went well.
Yeah.
How did you end up deciding that New York City? Because she was Miami, so how was it?
Yeah. So she's from Miami. She had plans to move to New York before she met me, just because she's in the art world and it's very, art's a very prominent industry here. She's going to think about moving to London at some point. Then we decided together to move to New York, and as a lot of young people do, come to New York and try and
cheers.
Thank you. Cheers. Try to make it, quote unquote. That's what we did. We used to joke that we're the brokers people in New York, but to be honest, I was still very happy living in COVID in my small studio apartment. I loved it there. Towards the end, I admit it got a little bit much. It was very tight, in COVID, just us two in that small apartment. But I was happy doing my thing. I do remember sitting at my little table I had, literally no bigger than this, tiny little circle, and my laptop just banging on the phone. And I had a little chair. Everyone tries to outbroke each other in New York. I'm giving an outbroke story, but I just remember it. No.
Everyone came here with $700. yeah.
I came here with $7 in my pocket.
Yeah.
No, but I remember my little chair had a little pillow there as well, just because it was a really uncomfortable little chair. And I was just there on the phone, and just...
There's a certain kind of satisfaction to that as well.
There's
a peace to it.
Definitely.
There's all this noise going on around you.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the business is simple.
Yeah, exactly. You say that quite a lot, actually. The business is very simple. What's the quote you said? It's simple, but
it's not easy.
Yeah, that's it.
And I think that sums it up, because anyone can dial a phone. Anyone can, go show a building, but it's not easy to do that year in, year out.
No. Day in, day out. And that something goes on something I want to talk about is discipline. So when I first came out, met Paul and other people, prominent people in the industry, said, what's the key to success in this business? They all said the same thing, discipline. And I feel lucky that I had natural good self-discipline anyway. And I think that's the biggest skill, discipline. Just doing the same thing over and over again. Days when you don't want to do it, just keep doing it over and over again. just making the calls when you don't want to, take the meeting, pumping yourself up, just basic discipline, which will hold you well in life no matter what.
You go for a run every morning, right?
I do.
But you hate running.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
I think that kind of sums up the mentality. Where do you run?
Just down the East River on the Upper East Side where I live.
What time?
At 5.
See, hail, rain, shine.
I'll be there every morning, no matter what.
Hating it.
Yeah, but only weekday.
Every step you hate.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're getting like any more of a love for it, or it's just...
No, I hate it.
It's so funny, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. I just do it for mental clarity as well, and just to keep fit and healthy, I suppose. But my wife, I have to admit, my wife makes fun of me because she says, "Oh, you were there for 5 minutes." I'm there for more than 5 minutes. But I don't go far. I have to admit, just do it consistently.
We have to get Maciel on to confirm.
Yeah. Then she gets upset with me, and I wake her up sometimes so early. But no, just like doing it over and over again.
Yeah.
And it's like compounding, right? Something like what Warren Buffett talks about. Compounding over time has real results.
Yeah.
Just small steps every day. I'm a big believer in that.
So you get up, you do that, you go running. You're one of the first into the office.
Yeah, the first.
You're the first.
Yeah.
And you're not that early, so I don't know what that says about the rest of us, but
I get like 7ish.
Are you 7ish?
Yeah, 7.
All right, so that's early.
Yeah, that's early. Yeah.
So you're in early. You open up.
Researching.
Set out your stall for the day.
Yeah, researching like comps, sending out emails, getting things ready for the day. Looking at the real deal, publications kept up to date with market trends.
Studying.
Yeah.
What time do you hit the phones?
9ish. 9:30.
All day or just?
Depends on the day, but excuse me. But yeah, majority of the day I like to be on the phone. I like you enjoy being on the phone. I hear you on the phone. You're funny. I can tell you're intense in something because you're pacing around the office like this.
I don't like sitting down talking.
No. I'm the first. I think I'm the only one guys in the office with the actual old school the phone.
Yeah, you got the real deal, right? And every time your phone rings, I know it's yours because it goes ring ring, ring ring. Whereas the rest of us just have whatever generic Apple iPhone, But you've got your BlackBerry.
Oh no, that's my Motorola actually.
There's a bit of a backstory to that, right?
I know there's a backstory.
You've a soft spot for BlackBerry, right?
It's not BlackBerry, it's Motorola. I did have a BlackBerry, but anyway. No, got the phone, just the key.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone and dial.
So what's going on in the Bronx today? I mean, I don't want to make this into too much of a market update, but
what is going on in the Bronx? Depends on the asset class. Which asset class?
Yeah, it's like asking how's the sports. It's like baseball is great, football is under pressure. I suppose. Well, what if you had a few $1 million to invest? What would you buy yourself in the Bronx?
That's a great question. I would probably buy land. Well, it depends because depends how much equity you had over it. But buy land.
Say you're right? You're 30, looking for a deal. Obviously, cash flow is going to be important, right? You're not.
Yeah.
Maybe it makes money in 10 or 20 years, but what does it make today?
Yeah. Well,
what would you do if you knew you had to give everyone back their money next year?
I think you got to stick to multifamily, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Smaller, not the rent stabilised stuff, because too many headaches. We speak to owners all day, every day that have a headache with stabilised buildings. I have people tell me they wouldn't have them for free.
Yeah.
Just too much of a headache, unfortunately.
That's really disheartening to hear, isn't it?
It is, yeah. When you're talking about New York City bricks, that is hard to hear. And these guys have been in the game such a long time. But that's why a lot of the buyers... And
what happened to them?
To the laws?
No, what happened to these guys? Like, they bought these bricks, to have a piece of New York City. Why is it almost better to hand the keys back in some of these cases? Like,
you can't get a return on your investment. So why you look for other investment opportunities? Capital has no boundaries. It can flow anywhere around the world, particularly in today's world. It's such a small world, but you can just invest in anything. So why would you invest in something that's not getting a return? Or if you're putting money into, you're not getting a return on that investment. So why would you?
There's no good reason, right? Unless you're playing like the long game.
Yeah.
I'm buying it so cheap.
Yeah. Well, I'm
betting the laws are going to change. If they do, I'm going to look smart. If they don't, I'm going to look terrible.
Yeah. And
I think that's really the business plan for a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
Also,
but a smart investor said to me, if that's like a 50-50 gamble, because no one knows what's happening with the laws. I can't see them personally changing. So risk-adjusted returns, that's not like a solid investment, because if it's 50-50, you might as well go to Vegas.
So true. Right. So why not put it all on black?
Yeah, but you're buying buildings, as we've had this conversation many times, you're buying buildings below 100 unit, 100 foot. That is cheap.
Just seems like...
Seems, doesn't it?
To build them,
I haven't been around a long time, but still.
To build them is like 500.
Yeah, exactly. Well, below
hard costs.
Yeah.
So, you'd buy the bricks.
Yeah, it's about something free market.
You'd roll the dice.
Yeah, like a smaller building in a solid location.
Yeah.
But like, depending on the opportunity I had, I would buy land.
Just bank it.
On corridors that are not rezoned yet, like Southern Boulevard. The corridors like along the transportation, because that's going to get rezoned. It's inevitable because they have to.
So where's that?
Southern Boulevard in the Bronx.
Where like in relation,
South
like everyone knows Mott Haven. Where's?
Yeah, it's not far away. It's just like the 2 and 5 line go up.
So you think it just spills over?
I think it's inevitable. They've already gone through that process, but similar to what you saw in Inwood, there's been pushback from the community. It's typical NIMBYism. They don't want the backyard, but affordable housing is so key, and it's an issue all around the world.
And I think it's something that we could do on this podcast as well. Is bring in someone from the other side, like because
we were talking about this.
There's many viewpoints on this, and like it's easy for you and me to say like, oh yeah, you should build it, but like we've never lived there.
Yeah,
like let's be respectful to people, and like there's a few sides to the argument, right? And we might see it as common sense, but there's a lot of it we're not seeing as well. Like we don't live there.
Yeah.
I don't live in Upper Manhattan. You don't live in the Bronx.
No.
And it's easier for us to say like, oh, you should let this go through for whatever reason, but it'd be interesting to talk to people and like see like why it's important to them that development doesn't happen, or because I don't think they're doing it for the sake of like we're anti-progress. We don't want things like everyone wants their neighborhood to be good.
Well, what happened in Inwood? What was the example there?
Well, the main opposition to it was that small local businesses didn't want big business coming in. They didn't want like Target or Bed Bath & Beyond coming in crushing the mom and pop.
That's understandable.
On the street.
Yes.
Like, I understand that. Totally, it makes sense. But at the same time, if we have an affordable housing crisis at the moment, meaning that we don't have enough units to give to people, we have to build them.
Yeah.
So where are we going to build them? Like it can't be like not here everywhere.
Yeah.
Because then nothing ever gets done. So the idea is how do you convert some of this commercial land? So like for example in Inwood, up east of 10th Avenue, there's the MTA bus depot, right? That's probably never going anywhere. But obviously if you're surrounding that area, it's kind of industrial, it's kind of grimy. There's a lot of auto body shops, neighborhood stuff. If you can convert that and put, a nice 8-story building on it that has amenities for residents, that has to be a net positive.
Yeah. And there's no reason why they couldn't build
if it's done in the right way.
Yeah, there's no reason why they couldn't build up and then still have the auto body shop on the first floor.
Right, or like
that might be a bit weird, but you know what I mean.
But there's some middle ground.
Yeah.
But I would like to hear from people who are outside, like, all right, we all know what chips say. We all know what revenues say. Like,
well,
we're incentivized to sell real estate, but I'm always conscious of, like, so what? Do we just try to smother out the other? Like, it gets nothing done if you just try to be louder than the other person.
As you said, it's good to have different perspectives.
Yeah.
And they will have a different perspective. And we all listen to people in real estate all the time. They'll just say the same thing, really, like pro 420, like bring back 421A. But like, it's good to know why they're opposing or taking so long. Yeah, I don't know how deep you want to get in politics.
No, we don't want to go deep. I mean, I think ultimately this whole thing is about, when you're young in the business like us, and we're guys who haven't like met it yet,
but, far from it.
But we're trying to make it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's an interesting perspective, I think, to see someone who's in the
trenches.
In the trenches.
In the meat grinder.
Just going in.
Yeah.
We haven't met it. There's a lot we have to learn.
Yeah.
But I think if you bring people in who are more or less at the same level, but maybe coming from different perspectives, you end up with having a good conversation about what's actually going on and what people are seeing.
So on the podcast going forward, we're going to have different industry guys and get their perspective, and maybe some internal colleagues at B6 and get their insight in different markets.
Yeah. Maybe some buyers.
Yeah.
Maybe some tenants. Some here. Try just I don't know whoever we find interested.
Whoever wants to come on.
Yeah.
Maybe our friends at Crexy will join us.
Yeah, Crexy. Yeah, shout out Crexy. Thanks for the champagne. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good
entry.
Pretty good starting point, eh?
Anything else you want to discuss?
That's it. That's all I got. Parking ticket.
We could go on forever about real estate, but it gets a bit boring after a while, doesn't it? Like everyone listens to real estate all the time, whatever. We'll save that for another time.
My parking tickets, like, the meter's running. Kaz has got to go home.
Kaz has got to go.
Thanks
for coming today, Kaz.
We don't know how to work the equipment. So, I think this was great. And cheers for doing it with me, Mitch.
Yeah, cheers. I'm
good stuff. First to many.
Yeah, exactly. I'm still on my second drink. I'm just hanging around.
You're supposed to be Irish.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.